As I reach for a peach. I love that song. I'm fixing to talk about that song a little bit. First of all, welcome back to the ProgHat channel. My name is Edward. Glad to have you. Glad you stopped by just to even watch the video. I appreciate all the new recent subscribers again, and I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thanks for your support, your love, your communication. You guys are superstars. I'm back with a video, and the purpose of my video, what I'm going to do here is talk about one of my favorite albums by Pink Floyd. I truly mean this. This is one of their landmark iconic records. I think it's one of the best records ever made in rock music. Now, this might be a record where many people will say different things about it. You know, whatever they may say, oh, I don't like it because of this or that. I get it, folks. Everything's an argument. But here I'm going to talk about why I love this record and the music that was created. So let's get right to it, because I got a few things to show in this video as well. 1971's Pink Floyd Meddle. Now this is a US copy of this album. The UK version, which was reissued with that cover, the one that were mixed by Bernie Grumman, has the original cover. And what the idea of the album cover was, they wanted to have a picture of an ear underwater, and it had this really cool little, well, not little, ripple effect on the album cover, which is a really neat album cover. I don't know why the US did this. And it almost looks like human, I don't know, cells in your body just floating in water. This is my US copy on the Harvest Records label, which is my favorite record label. Probably of all time, because all the albums that Pink Floyd pretty much did were on that label. This album came out in 1971. One thing that I do want to say, because I'm looking at my notes that I made, that I've noticed over the years whenever I'm in a record store, new youngsters, new generation of Pink Floyd fans coming up. I don't know if they've discovered the music on their own or through their parents' collections, but I have seen the younger generation leave a record store with Pink Floyd records and King Crimson and all those prog artists. Okay. Now, one thing I want to say is I'm not here to say whether or not Pink Floyd is prog rock. That's up to you. But ProgHat here, I say they're prog rock. They're space rock. They're psychedelic. They even have music that is classic rock. And the other day I was just thinking about this, because my daughter, I didn't know she knew this song, but that song that they play a lot on rock radio, From the Wall, another brick in the wall. I'm talking about Young Lust. You know those songs, I Am Just a New Boy, Stranger in This Town, Ooh, I Need a Dirty Woman. My daughter was sitting in the back seat and that song was playing. Of course, I reach over and I crank it up. She goes, you know, Dad, that Pink Floyd song, I didn't even know she knew that song. She's about 20-something years old, 20, getting close to 25, 26. She said, Dad, that is one of the best Pink Floyd songs I ever heard. And it's because of the singing and the rocking out on the guitar and that solo. So she has heard that song. And she said it's one of the best rock guitar songs. I have to agree with her. It's a song that I never get tired of hearing. And another thing I want to mention, because I have a few stories, but I'm going to do one. I remember years ago having an 8-track player. I was spoiled. My grandparents pretty much gave me a lot of very nice things in my life. and took care of me. And I remember they gave me an 8-track player that you could record blank onto blank 8 tracks. And I remember one night on KLBJ FM radio here in Texas that they were going to play a Pink Floyd concert. I was like, whoa, I wonder what it's going to be. You know, was it Dark Side of the Moon tour or what was it? Anyway, I don't remember. But I do remember I setting it for that time to start recording. And I fell asleep during most of it, but I got a lot of it on 8-track that the next day I played it and listened to it. And I was blown away what I heard. I've come to now know that what I heard were live versions of Echoes, live versions of One of These Days, live versions of Careful with the Axe, Eugene, and it sounded good. 8-track, folks, sounded good. You could say whatever you want. But it had that really good sound of analog, and I just simply love that 8-track. I just titled it, because you could write on them, Pink Floyd Live. So years later, I picked up Meddle and I heard One of These Days. It's still an iconic track. I mean, this album right here, I'm going to say it, it's timeless. It is. You can play this record right now, in my opinion, and it sounds like something new. Yeah. There's not bands doing this kind of stuff. This album, like I said, is psychedelic, space rock, and very progressive. Okay? This album was made when Pink Floyd had various commitments to many concerts. They were making so much music. What was it, like in '69 they did like maybe 2, maybe 3 albums in that year. I mean, they were making so much music. They were making music for films, and still I have never seen a lot of those movies. But some of the best rock albums I've ever heard, Music to More, Atom Heart Mother, which is an album that they wanted I take it that they wanted more of a direction to their sound. Think about this. Pink Floyd was, you know, Syd Barrett was the main guy at Pink Floyd, but they had David Gilmour, and he would show up with Pink Floyd, with Syd Barrett, like a just in case, you know, because, you know, Syd Barrett was doing things that were Syd Barrett, let's just put it that way. And so on this album and the album before, Atom Heart Mother, David Gilmour shines. He breaks through. I'm a big fan of David Gilmour. I love his singing and I love his guitar playing, and he does not get the credit that is deserving to him as a guitar player. He can ramp it up. He can bring his A game. On this album, one of the albums he shines really on. Echoes, that guitar playing, and I'm going to get to that song, but a lot of his stuff, I mean, bluesy, whatever you want to call it, it's just memorable. You never won't forget it, that tone, that sound. It sounds like something coming from the distance, something coming out of the darkness and bringing light. That's one thing I want to say about this record. It has this good contrast, of light and dark. Is it a concept album? I'll leave that up to you, but I think there is a theme here. There are some dark tracks. The album did sell well here in the U.S., and there's just some great compositions on here. One of them is Echoes, which I feel like should have been the song on side 1. And then side 2, the other songs like One of These Days, A Pillow of Winds, Fearless, Saint-Tropez, if I said that right, and Simius, if I said that correctly. But Echoes, let me just say that is one of the great compositions. It's one of the best rock songs in rock music. That song, to me, is very personal because it's describing some some of my moods. Especially that part where it goes ka-dun, 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 and it gets really heavy and there's some blues wailing guitar solos. That's ProgHat going through the week some days. That's how my mood, I can relate to that piece of music. And then when it gets to that real psychedelic, you don't know what it's going through. Maybe it's beyond the magical mystery tour of the Beatles, but it's darkness and it's out there and it's like creating this atmosphere where it's touching stars in some other galaxy that I don't know of. But then it comes back and the singing, the 2 passages of singing they do, great lyrics. I mean, that song should get airplay more, Echoes. And I really believe that Pink Floyd was a blueprint for a lot of bands that came out. Yeah. Dream Theater, 9 Inch Nails, Tool. They got their ideas from albums by Pink Floyd. I guarantee you that. Now, you can say what you want to say, that's fine. Fearless. I love that part of the Liverpool anthem where they are singing You Never Walk Alone. That's just brilliance. That's something more that you see here, kind of that same idea on the album Obscured by Clouds. And San Tropez or Tropaz or whatever. What a great jazzy pop song. I really feel that that should have been released as a single. Simius, another a song that is real bluesy with that dog. Oh, it sounds like he's crying or howling or whatever. It fits in well. And what I read about that was Steve Marriott's dog. That's what I heard. But you see that coming down in the future with animals where they use sound effects of animals again. Now this album right here, a lot of ideas. Like I said, there was a lot of things going on for them. They were doing a lot of concerts, being a part of a lot of other projects. But this album, they were laying a lot of parts of this album. And some of the demos or whatever you want to call them, tracks were called Nothing. That's what they said, because they would lay down something and there was, what do you want to call this? And they said Nothing. Then it became Nothing Part 1, Part 2, Part 3. I think it was for Echoes. I don't remember. But now I'm going to show something else. If you pick up this, which is a reasonably priced Pink Floyd, the early years, 67 through 72, there's a track on here called Nothing Part 14. So you get that, plus you get a real early band version of Adam Hart Mother without the orchestra. So this is a good transition. This is a part where like, hey, again, another iconic sounding Pink Floyd album. And I guarantee you, bands, this is one of their blueprints, especially the song Echoes. What else do I got to say about this great record? Check it out for yourself, folks. But I just simply love this record, and I love this photo inside of the album. This is the group that made an incredible album, an amazing album, an album that has all kinds of elements of other music. Now, the album after this is Obscured by Clouds, and I recommend you checking that out. Also, I had to bust out, I just simply love this. Pink Floyd live at Pompeii. And one of the reasons is you hear them live in these ruins, and it's like captured live. It's like that brought into the studio, and this is how they would sound live as well. There you have it, folks. My review, whatever you want to call it. I'm spotlighting Pink Floyd, the Meddle album. Hope you enjoy it. Leave me a comment. Let me know your favorite song on the album or your favorite Pink Floyd album of that period. Take care, and I'll see you on my next video.